More violence against real estate agents. Good afternoon. Uh, in the past year, we've talked about violence against real estate agents, and it just keeps going. The allure of being a real estate agent is you make all this money and you have all this free time and everything's great. Uh, that's that's the supposed life, but I don't know if you've had family members that are real estate agents or know a few of them, but I guarantee you that not everyone's living the life and have all this free time and everything's great. And in some cases, murdered. Murdered. Wanted to go into this and just talk about it. And here we go. It says Florida real estate agent fatally shot outside home she was showing. There's two articles from the New York Post. They're not very long because what are you going to say when somebody gets murdered? It says a Florida real estate agent was killed outside a home she was showing in a shooting that may be linked to a separate landlord-tenant dispute. Sarah Michelle Trost, was 40 years old, was gunned down inside her car outside the home in Coral Springs at 12:30 in the afternoon on Thursday. She died on scene. Trost, a mother of one, was showing the home the day she was murdered. Investigators are probing whether the deadly violence stemmed from an earlier dispute involving a former tenant of the residence of the landlord. So here this real estate agent is. She's literally going and showing this home for either rent or for sale. They didn't give an address, so I don't know. Not involved. Doesn't know the owner, doesn't know anybody. Sitting in her car waiting for someone to show the property to. That's totally normal. I'll sit in my car, I'll check my texts and just wait because, you don't want to go in too early. And so she does that and some guy comes up and shoots her. That's the first article. Then there's a second article here written a little differently in the Post. It says that Florida real estate agent gunned down outside a house she was showing was targeted by a renter who mistook her for the building's landlord, according to a neighbor. There was a disgruntled tenant who was evicted. He thought that the realtor who was showing the home was the owner of the house when he ambushed her in her car. This moron was charged with a first-degree murder in the shooting death on Thursday. She was shot multiple times while she sat in the driver's seat of her Jeep outside the home. This fellow, just, again, disgusting. If it's so, it's alleged. At the time, there are no additional suspects being sought, nor is there a threat to the community. This woman owned and operated 1% list SoFlo, discount real estate brokerage in Coral Springs. It says that the single mom was enjoying success in the hot Florida real estate market. She was also a volunteer, and at least the Animal Rescue and Sanctuary wrote something nice about her. So, I have thoughts. These kinds of things hit me pretty hard because, they're not going away, And so the first thought I had was how many people think that being a real estate agent is a safe profession? How many murders and violent incidents would have to happen to make you change your mind? And so I keep highlighting them. There was a lady at the open house that had her skull fractured. There was the agent, and I think it was in Maryland, who sold a house. He was a buyer's agent, sold a house to a buyer out of town. The buyer from out of town came to the house and shot him dead on the inspection. It's just very, very dangerous. And no one really understands it. No one really believes it. So it's rough. In this particular case, a former disgruntled tenant decided to take revenge out on the agent. And the agent wasn't the owner and was just showing the home. It had nothing to do with the agent. And so, mistaken identity or not, what are you doing as a tenant shooting anyone? It's just bizarre. My opinion is there's a special place in hell for an animal that shoots someone while they're working. I believe that there should be stronger mandatory sentences for murder of people who are on the clock. The guy at the QT, the guy at the convenience store getting shot for working. No, that's not acceptable. No one says it's acceptable, but people should be punished more severely. I think that would put an end to this stuff. This woman's out there trying to make a living for her family, only to be murdered in a case of mistaken identity. And it's just wrong. I mean, can you, when you get killed at work, there's all kinds of lawsuits. And, the insurance company pays or something. But when someone kills you while working, like on the clock, it's just disgusting. There's no amount of money that makes it better, but a stronger punishment, I'm all for. We often talk about preventive safety measures for real estate agents because people are waking up to the fact that this kind of stuff happens. There's a group out of Arkansas that watches this stuff more closely. But these types of things include telling family and friends where you're going and who you're meeting with, never showing a property to a random stranger without pre-approvals, and always pay attention to your surroundings. But none of these things are going to keep some sicko who's stalking the house from murdering you if that's what's on their mind. This isn't something that you were going to be able to prevent. And, I want to talk about the never showing a property to a random stranger without pre-approvals. There are many, many organizations in the United States that get money from HUD to basically ensnare real estate agents for fair housing violations. And so how that could be is if someone calls you and they say, I'd like to see this house, and you say, I don't want to show it to you. I don't know you. I don't know anything about you. Depending on how depending on how the conversation goes, you can be looking at a housing, a fair housing violation. Now, should that motivate you to go show a house that you don't want to show in a neighborhood you're not comfortable showing and meeting someone there that you don't know? I think your safety is paramount. So given the choice, if you were between, getting a fine from HUD, being ensnared, and not showing a property to someone that you don't know, you have no relationship with, take the fine. Take the fine. Because these people that are doing this work for fair housing are not worried about being murdered. So that's my opinion. Always pay attention to your surroundings. These stories we read and we see, I don't know that it would have done much good. I mean, the lady that had her skull crushed, she was at an open house, and the guy waited until there was nobody there. So it's just tough. And, evictions can be contentious issues. There's no question. I once had an agent friend who got a call to show a rental. We were listing it at the office. And when he got there, it was a former tenant who wanted to argue with the agent about a prior tenancy that the agents had nothing to do with. So what happened in that case is the property was being rented. The tenant was evicted. The property management company that was managing it got fired, and the property was moved to our agency. Knew nothing about the eviction, knew nothing about any former stuff. And here this random person, this evicted tenant, is calling, and they pretend that they want to see the house. And the agent goes out to show the house, and then violence happens. It's very, very dangerous. In a way, this incident leads me to want to point out that this kind of feeds into the review culture. So say this guy gets evicted from the house and leaves a nasty review. He murders an agent for just, he murders the agent just showing the property. Do you respect the bad review he gave of the rental? And this is why I don't put much stock into online reviews for real estate agents, especially those that deal with rentals. Yelp, for example, will allow tenants to rate real estate agents on rentals where they've been evicted. How reasonable is that? When are you ever going to write that the person that evicted you or the company that evicted you was a great company? I mean, it's ridiculous. So I don't really, we don't have any bad reviews. I hope we don't ever get any bad reviews. We don't do any rentals. But again, this reviews of these, the online reviews are just ridiculous in real estate. I wouldn't put too much faith in them. And then what can be done? Well, I have a very small YouTube channel. I try to get the word out there to the general public and real estate agents that this is an inherently dangerous business. We often work on our own. We're often going to bad parts of town, and we're often showing houses that are vacant. Strangers. It's a bad mix. So I just wanted to put this out there. You know, it's not going to do much good. The lady's dead, got a child. It's a bad situation. You know, when people tell you that you don't get paid enough, you know, you get paid too much as an agent. Is it worth your life? Because how many agents this year have lost their lives to violence, you know, to this types of thing on the job? It's just ridiculous. Let's do better as a society. That's what I got for you today. Sorry I didn't have a good one. Sorry I didn't have a happy, upbeat one, but somebody's got to talk about it. So I guess that's me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.